random stuff at the end.
Dude, I love that. We do have comments on here if we end up getting anybody. I think we are officially live now, so that's good. And I lost my mouse. So, bro, it is so good to see you. I've been looking forward to this. So, what were you saying though? We were halfway through off the air on this. What were you talking about?
Oh, just other
black shirts. Black
shirts, but like this is hilarious.
Yeah, the mic just perfectly blends
in.
It's amazing.
Perfectly blends in if you don't know it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you want to start us off?
Well, I think we've officially decided the creative lens.
Creative lens. Welcome.
Creative
episode
lens.
2,
this is,
kind of. Episode 1, episode 2.
It's kind of episode
102.
Episode 2. Yeah, episode 102. We'll keep it 102.
Season 1.
That sounds good to me, bro.
Season 1, episode 2. You know?
Yep.
True filmmakers aspects of it.
Dude, I thought of you. I had the strangest experience yesterday. I was like, we got to talk about this at some point. So I got my hair cut. I got, all the hairs cut. It's about time I needed it. The weirdest experience though, man. Like the woman who cut my hair she's not the one who usually cuts my hair. And their like Pandora was off. Their music was off. She was obsessed with that. So she's like cutting my hair and like going back and forth trying to fix their music. I'm like, okay, this is a little strange. Towards the end though, she starts like kind of, tuning stuff in. She goes, does that look even to you? That is not something you ever want to hear from somebody who's cutting your hair. I was like, I don't know. Like, that's why I pay you. I could go home and like kind of eyeball it in the mirror, but like, isn't that your gig?
God. Oh my God.
Dude, it was like, I've never felt so uncomfortable locked into a chair. It was not good.
That's maybe I never come back and see you ever again.
No, and then it was like, they get to the end where they're like, hey, how's everything look? Do we need to tweak anything? And I was like, well, you kind of like left some pieces here. And she like was trying to fix it and then couldn't fix it. And so then eventually the guy who usually cuts my hair comes over. He's like, I got you, bro. And he like took over and basically like recut my hair. But I was like, this is the most uncomfortable situation ever. Like she got kicked out kind of, but I was like, don't ever ask somebody, does that look even to you? Like it just, man.
My God.
It was, I was like, I've never wanted to leave, like just pull the thing off and leave as much as I did in that moment, man. It was,
Well, it looks good.
Dude, I appreciate it. And it needed to get done. So anything, give me something that's on your life, anything since last week.
Well, I went down a very crunchy weekend learning about microplastics in the body, and I have now gotten rid of all my polyester clothing and all of our plastic. I went a little crazy this weekend and got rid of a tremendous amount of microplastic type things in our kitchen. And like, I don't already put food in our Tupperware, but we have all these Tupperware. So like, do that.
I have so much Tupperware.
Replace the plastic spatulas with metal spatulas and got rid of essentially half my closet of polyester. But like the amount of clothes that are, that's a whole nother podcast is how, as we talked about, if we end up, once we both get fit, we'll end up, what was it? Creatine?
Cameras and Creatine is such a good podcast.
Cameras and Creatine. And just be like,
somebody don't steal that. That's ours. Yeah. I was like, oh man, if only I was like jacked enough to pull that.
Or that podcast. Creatives and Creatine.
I still, no, but you're leaving in the part where I have to be jacked though.
Yeah.
Either way, it's like, I need to like be a lot more jacked than I am currently.
Yeah. So I need to lose the weight. You need to gain the weight.
I can't even believe that you think you need to lose weight. Like I know you
so
well. I don't think
talk about my weight loss journey. Let's get into this. So, well, okay. I think this is a good transition to one of our topics, which is niching down and like
okay.
So something that we started talking about last week. And I think it's a very good topic, especially as creatives, when figuring out this name, figuring out this, is speaking to a niche. And this whole thing, it's, there's two arguments that I see these days, which is one, you are the niche, the Joe Rogan, right? You're the creator, but it's also the niche is you, where it's like, okay, great. I love, that's why like Joe Rogan is the great example. Aliens, fitness, comedy, health, and politics.
Yep.
What? Compared to, the other side, which is like the riches are in the niches, and you got to like focus on like one subject, one avatar, one thing, stay in the lane, be exclusive. Don't talk about other things because you want people to know you by that one thing. And then eventually you can branch out and,
I like that somehow niching down makes you a little Trumpy.
Stay
in your lane. No one can go. You stay here. But I don't have a good Trump impression, but like you were getting into it as you were niching down more and more. The hands were starting to go.
It's a little serious. I guess it's a serious thing. And but I look at it also like, because you have it on the creative side too. Like you have it on the business side, but you very much have it on the creative side, which is like, what do you shoot? Or also like, I grew up acting, and it's like, well, what type of roles do you go after? Like you want to be typecast. Like it's not, and especially as a creative, it's like, it's not a bad thing to be typecast at first, because then you're known. And it's something that I talk about to creatives all the time. Like my wife's an actress. It's like, great. The problem is that you're typecasted, that you're stuck in this niche. Yes, you can do other things, but like, then you become the person. And Matthew McConaughey is the greatest story, in my opinion, of that. He purposefully got himself typecast to the point where he had to then fight to get out of it. Right. Jen Aniston is another great example. Like there are so many people, and then you have the flip side of like the Tom Cruises, who was doing kind of everything. He was the big movie star, but then now I just want to make action movies. That's all I'm gonna do. Like he doesn't do the Magnolias and the interviews with the vampire anymore. He just does the Mission Impossibles, the Jack Reachers, the, Live, Die, Repeats, the big action movies.
Yeah.
So I'm going to open it up to you first, just on your thoughts on the niche and successful actions.
Well, I struggle with this one. I think as a creative, I struggle with it, especially on like the social media lens of it, where niching down is a huge topic. Like you have to be in a specific niche in a specific channel for anybody to tune in. And I think as a human being, that's really hard for people to lock into. Because I think one, you feel like you are locked. Once I pick my niche, I have to be in this box, right? Like that's hard for me in thinking about like what this channel is supposed to be and like what I'm supposed to do as a creative is like being put in that box as a human being, I think is difficult. But I also think where I've always looked at social platforms is like, one, as long as you're consistent and authentic to what you do, as long as you're not like, way all over the place, then you will find your audience. But what I always have kind of compared it to in my like boomer brain is that it's a TV show. Like it's a TV station, right? Like if you tune into ESPN,
I was just thinking the same thing.
You don't necessarily get only college basketball. You might have like tennis and then the Masters this weekend and then a football game. But like you don't tune into ESPN and all of a sudden it's the Days of Our Lives soap opera, right? Like that would be so far out of their niche that you'd lose your core viewers. And that's where it's like, and I've seen the.
If I may jump in.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I just looked up like ESPN is an acronym, if I'm not mistaken. And I just looked it up, and it's Entertainment and Sports Programming Network. And so that is the niche. But it's funny, they don't even really go into entertainment. You could say the entertainment of sports.
They've got so many talk shows. Most of Sports Center is just people talking
Sure,
about other people doing stuff.
What about sports? It's the entertainment of
And that's
sport.
the niche.
Yeah, it's just everything sports. And sure, live sports, talking about sports competitions, and it's very interesting. That's a great way of, sorry, I cut you off, but more just from the standpoint, I didn't want to forget it in terms of ESPN, but it's a great way of saying it. So continue what you were saying.
Well, so a trend that I've been seeing in the creative landscape is this kind of widening of the niche umbrella, which I tend to think fits back into like my thesis of being a TV, a network station, where like if you're so lasered in on a niche that you are limiting yourself to creative ideas or concepts or like branching out to different partners because it's not quite in that niche. Like the other thing I struggle with is, as a human being, I may want to do, this podcast, but then go break down like this mouse that we did last time, like it has to, for me, be able to, if it gets so niche, then I'm trying to manage like 8 different channels all at once. You said this was a problem that you had.
Oh, and that's exactly what I'm running into. I was, because I've had, I've had that exact problem on multiple platforms. So like I was doing my YouTube channel, and where it's like, okay, great, let me talk about just the things that are going on in my life. Like I did a big Airbnb build out. And so I was pushing that a little bit on top of my photography, on top of my filmmaking, on top of just daily vlogs. And people were like, I don't care about your photography. I want to see your trailer build out for this Airbnb. Right. Then people are like, well, let me see the next, let me see your next short film. I don't care about your Airbnb build. Like, I'm like, so I would crash, because I would start doing it and just create the things that I want to create. And I would crash. And so to the point where like, I've gotten so aggressive. I have like 5 TikToks and 5 Instagram channels and like 3 YouTube channels. I'm like, it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. Like, cause I've looked at it less of even a network, and I've looked at it as shows. Yeah. Great. This Instagram is just this show. So let me just be friends and not be Big Bang Theory at the same time, or not even, because those are both, you could say, sitcoms. So, but each, like, people who watch Friends might not like Big Bang Theory, and people who like Big Bang Theory might not like Friends, even though they're both, kind of friendsy, sitcom-y type shows, but 2 very different audiences.
Yeah. So how do you keep yourself consistent with and not burn out with 5 different channels like that?
I don't. I burn out.
Okay. Well,
I haven't figured it out, and
I have not cracked that code yet. I like the analogy in my head of like you're running a show. I do like that analogy. And in my head, it's just so hard with humanity, and like I can't.
But I think that's where it's interesting going through it with you right now and kind of just literally talking this out live, because it's, becoming the TV station. Okay, great. If we are an ESPN, and I think that's where it probably takes a little bit more work from the creator to understand your, like, as a creative, like that creative director hat needs to come in and go, okay, great. Let's work with you on your brand. What are all the pieces of the brand? Because now, like, the creative director in me is going, and going, okay, great. How do we do this? How do we do that? Okay, great. If I want to talk about this, the investment portfolio stuff doesn't make sense at all. Passive income doesn't make sense. But okay, great. I am an artist. I have these couple channels of things that I go, great. I can create series like this. Great. This, this show itself is about artists and talking to artists. And that's where it's also, okay, great. I can go this is going to be this background. Like you can even just as simply like change out the backgrounds so you can have different sets which designate the different shows.
Yep.
It's a fascinating thing just to lock in a little bit of going, okay, great. You're a TV station. If you have a multi-niche thing, right? You're not just, I run a pest control company.
Right.
Well, great. Let's just talk about pest control and that's the niche. But if you are a more on the creator side, an artist side, where I have lots of things that I like doing, right? Like my wife, for example, is just an actress. She just makes comedy sketches. Very easy. She doesn't have a problem with this. My crazy brain goes, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a photographer, but I also run a creative agency, but I also do this, but I also do this. And we started,
I feel like some of that though overlaps, like, because I do feel like any niche that you're in, you can broaden that niche to be multiple different things. Like the pest control. There's a huge difference between pest control in your house versus like the craziest thing you've had to remove from an attic versus like,
but even commercial
wrestle an alligator. Exactly. So I feel like there's like anybody that's struggling with this is finding that, or even to your wife's point, like, yes, maybe her like solid niche is comedy, but if she ever wants to do a drama or wants to, like, I've seen some of your shorts where it's not necessarily, it's like dark comedy or something, right? Like, so those are different facets where the niche umbrella can broaden a little bit. The other thing I was thinking about, I want your take on it, is, so I primarily live in YouTube land. Mm-hmm. I like dabble in the social media land, but social media land feels even more hijacked by big tech's algorithm. And like, I'm not going to like put my aluminum foil hat on and like go like crazy conspiracy theory, but it's like everybody's chasing how to get eyeballs that worked yesterday that don't work today. YouTube seems a little bit more predictable for that, but an interesting thing, kind of the contrarian thought of what you were just saying, and I just want your thoughts on this, is as algorithms and AI search gets better. So everybody's already talked it. It is a thing that like Meta will use their AI to watch your videos that you post on Instagram and not just look at what your hashtags are, right? Hashtags aren't a thing anymore, but it'll actually look at the words you're saying, the transcript, the words that are on the screen, right? And then it will serve that particular content, that one thing, to the people that it thinks wants that thing at the moment. That's at least the pitch, right? So at that point where you're worried about curating a show, at what point does it get so good that you could put out on your channel, maybe not like gardening and then home improvement and then photography, but like, isn't that algorithm improving to the point where it can see that this is a carousel of your amazing photos, and it's going to send those photos to people that actually want to see carousels of photography, versus when we put out a show clip, that's a different audience and it can recognize that. Like at what tier does the algorithm, like you start playing into that it's just going to sort it for me? I don't have to do the curating.
I think it's also, I think instinctually, as humans, we kind of run in tribes and we run in with general interests. So
yes,
I think there will be naturally like you create content for an audience, whether the AI will serve it this or that. Like you will naturally need to, people who listen to Joe Rogan, very different audience than people who listen to Call Her Daddy. Right. It's just naturally a different audience. And it's also like, so it's not a bad, like, in my opinion, it's not a bad thing to niche down, but I like your larger view, just your nuanced of like, it's a TV network. Like if ESPN started going into political news, we'd get upset.
They'd lose.
Yeah,
exactly.
We'd go, why? That's not what you do. The same way. And I think that's the similar reason why, a lot of people get upset with celebrities at award shows when they're like, hey, here's this political thing that I want to put a voice for.
Right.
personally, I'm not political, but I think why a lot of people, it's like, we like you because you're in this movie or you made this record. You're not a politician. And it's like, well, you
right.
should
We don't see you in that way.
influence. Yeah, it's like, that's not your brand, right? Where someone like Ashton Kutcher, I'm going to give a slightly different example. He's not in as much as movies, and he's an investor now.
Right.
Like, that is what he pushes. That is what he does. And he's rebuilt his brand to talk about that. And it's like, you can do that, but like, you have to consistently do that. Like, if blah, blah, blah actor was, while making movies, very overtly advocating for XYZ thing, and then it feels part of the niche. But I like this idea of like, you're a TV network. And you can have multiple shows that are cohesive in the network on your channel or on your channels. And sure, you can have its own channel for certain things. Like if I wanted just to keep my photography on a Instagram itself, but it doesn't also need its own TikTok, its own this, its own this, its own this, its own this. But if I had, okay, great, Jake Isham Studios, what is the lineup of shows for Jake Isham Studios?
Yeah.
Or what would that look like across the boards? And it's an interesting view of like, okay, great, what would that show look like? And even if it changes a little bit, but it's also, you could say at the same time that YouTube, like if you go for YouTube example, like if you're tuning into a YouTube channel, you're tuning in for that channel. It is its own show. And it might be and it depends. The show could be multi-niche. Like if you look at Joe Rogan, right? I'm working this aloud.
Yeah.
Not like I have a solution, because this is very much, as we just talked about, the problem I'm dealing with. And it's like Joe Rogan, the show is a multi-niche talk show.
Right.
He doesn't, and the show is designed that way as a multi-niche talk show. I kind of lost my train of thought. Of course, this is obviously, when you have.
Well, let me give you my thought then, because on YouTube, I feel like there are, in the entertainment space of YouTube, you're probably dead on, and maybe even in the like subscriber base, like you're going to subscribe to somebody on YouTube because you follow that TV show, right? Like you like the content or the set of shows. But I think there are two kind of search funnels. I always look at this as like two different search funnels inside of YouTube. And the packaging on how you create for YouTube shifts depending on what funnel you're targeting. You can target both, right? But there's the like emotional question part of YouTube. That's the entertaining part, the story part, the like, oh, what's going to happen next? Those are the kind of the Mr. Beast style packaging, at least, where the story unfolds, right? So you're like clicking on that, not necessarily because you know the creator, but because they've packaged it in a way that emotionally hooks you, pulls you in. But there's also the discovery side of YouTube, which I'm a huge advocate for, because as a search platform, YouTube doesn't get YouTube gets a lot of credit, but I don't think YouTube gets enough credit as a search platform, where I might be looking for how to, replace an alternator on a 2022 Ford, right? I will go to YouTube and search that. I might find a video that's 5 years old, but that is packaged. As long as it's good, it's content, and it's not necessarily like I'm at a mode of like, oh, I want to be entertained by this guy ripping an alternator out. It's more the discovery packaging. And I'm so like interested in YouTube's version of that, because you can package something for entertainment, but you can also package something for like as an after term. Yeah. Well, you get residuals, right? Like that thing could be valuable to people 6, 7, 8 years from now, if it's packaged for discovery, not necessarily because like, holy cow, look at what this happened. Like that's not necessarily going to live in the search world forever. But if that, holy cow, look at what happened today, becomes, this was the most valuable thing I learned this year, that, that gets to live in residual world where I feel like, and maybe that's why I like to live in YouTube maybe more than Instagram, is that like the searchable residual idea doesn't exist in social media. Social media is like gone and done, 2.5 seconds and you're on to the next one.
They're different strategies.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing, like where the 2.5 seconds and it moves on, it's, my opinion, that's brand building and free. It's essentially free advertising. If you can make a great video, you can get 1 million views, which is 1 million. Like, as anybody who works in advertising knows, to pay for 1 million impressions is thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Of the right impressions. You can do that for free now with a good video. And it comes down to strategy. Like for me, I'm looking at it like, because like what you're thinking about is, again, it's what do you want to build the niche? Like there was a post that went viral about a guy who, I don't know if you saw this a couple months ago, who had a fireplace video. Did you see this?
Maybe not. I don't think
okay.
so.
So I don't know. We both have, white girl wives and, fiancés who are very, white girl about it. And, around the holidays, we don't have a fireplace out in Los Angeles. I don't know if you have a fireplace out in the Florida area. My wife is very jealous about it. And she'll put on our big screen TV a crackling fireplace.
Yep.
Very white girl. Yep. It's very lovely. The crackling noises, it makes you feel like, oh, I'm actually kind of wealthy and I have a fireplace without owning a fireplace.
Right.
And a guy posted there was a Twitter thread about how he posted this video about 15 years ago. It's the only video on his channel. It now has like 192 million views after 15 years. It has made him like $1.5 million. But if you just look at the graph, like it took 8-10 years before it started to get any traction.
Right.
And then, but it's to your point. And again, it's like, what do you want to build? Like, for example, the things that like, I don't care to be an educational, like I could totally do the Peter McKinnon educational camera stuff that is also, but that's long-term searchable.
Yeah.
Like that's not the videos I personally am inclined to create. I could make a ton of money doing it and it would be great residuals long-term, but I can also tell you like Casey Neistat still makes tremendous amount of residuals because he's just made great episodes. I know, I mean, David Dobrik doesn't make a lot of residuals off of YouTube, but I know my younger sister will go back and just rewatch all of his episodes. If it was actually correctly monetized, David would be making a bloody fortune off of it. But it's the same reason why probably your fiance, like my wife, rewatch Friends over and over and over and over, or How I Met Your Mother, or Brooklyn Nine-Nine, over and over and over. And it's the same thing now living on YouTube. And so it's like if you just make great content, that's a show of any type.
Yeah.
Like, and it's again, you can have it one way or the other. Either you have the highly entertaining show where people are like, dude, I got to go watch that episode again of whatever.
Right.
Or I'm going to bank on long-term searchability for this content.
I think how you package it and that idea of going into it, right? Like as long as you can package it accurately and you can define it before you put it out there, or at least like at some point, make knowing where you're going is important.
Yeah. And there's that aspect of just having a bit of that strategy. And I think there's two different things to it. There's the strategy and there's obviously the aspect of just doing it and just also like where it is like Rogan, not giving a fuck and just not caring and just like going, great, this is what I want to do. People will get on the train or they will not. I don't.
And the train's leaving either way.
I'm going full steam ahead, and people are welcome to board and come along for the journey, or they don't have to, because I don't care. And I think that's a little bit of like what we're taking, at least this show, is we know the basic framework, at least to start with. We're two creatives. We work in the marketing, social media world, podcasting space. We work with entrepreneurs. But at the end of the day, we both are just two artists that are trying to make it in this entrepreneurial space. And so we're going to just kind of talk about that. Filmmaking, photography, what's going on, what's working, what's not working, what are we seeing with clients? And like, it's a little bit of the Joe Rogan. It's like, okay, great. But hey, look, we need to get in shape. We're talking about microplastics to start off with. This doesn't have to do anything, but because we're also at the end of the day, in our 30s and dealing with life. Like, so, okay, great. What's going on in life in our 30s?
Yep. I always look at this show. Like my thought and plan always with this show is like, this gets to be my one entertainment piece of the week, because I do like to teach and I do like to kind of like break stuff down.
Yeah.
But that is maybe the long-term discoverability thing. It's not the entertainment piece. So this should always exist as just kind of whatever we've got going on in the world this week, because it is a constant evolution, and right? Like whatever works for us today in the marketing world, in the content space, surely will not work 6 months from now. It's just, that's almost guaranteed.
Well, I think
change is inevitable.
Yeah. And I think, but the simplicity is going to be, what's always will win in a content space is execution and volume.
And good storytelling. I think
that's
something.
Execution.
Yep.
And
for sure.
Is correctly making great content.
Yeah.
And
Adam Mazzari mentioned that. Yeah, Adam Mazzari mentioned that on an Instagram post that he put out, head of Instagram, who was kind of previewing kind of what his thoughts on 26 into 27 was going to look like in the social space. And that was one of his parts, was good storytelling has always been important. It will always continue to be important. And it will separate the AI slop from whatever else is going out, in the future.
And let's dive into this, because I get that question all the time when I'm on people's podcasts, is what is good storytelling? And I kind of have a view on it, but I would love to get your perspective first, just in terms of like, how do you view, like, from a social media standpoint, like this good storytelling? Because it's one thing just to say that, right?
Right.
Hey, we need to have good storytelling. What does that mean?
You want my thoughts on it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna admit something to you, Jake. It is a trait that I am constantly jealous of for all of, like, within all of my director friends, you included, that you inherently have a story to tell. I came up in the filmmaking space way more as a technician and engineer, and like pushing the right buttons, understanding the math of it. Like it was way more analytical in my head, which I've always struggled with understanding what part of your brain comes up with like, oh, I have to tell this story. Because I've never felt like I have that. I'm always jealous of that. So I think that's a really good question. And it's something that I struggle with because, like you said, Adam Mazzari can say, well, you just need to tell a good story. And I can analytically be like, well, I don't like that story. I do like this story. But in turn, I have never possessed that director brain where I'm like, oh, I cannot go to sleep again until I tell this story that's living in my head.
But to be honest, I don't have that either. I go like, that's a great idea. And it was interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine about this exact topic. And I was like, because again, I felt the same way as you. I didn't feel like, whatever.
You have this great burning passion of creativity.
I need to make this
well
to tell this story. And the friend was very complimentary of my photography as you are too. And basically saying, like, you don't need to have this burning passion. Like good storytelling is you just feel like this needs to be told, then just say it. Like you think it's good, great. Like it doesn't have to be more significant than that, they were saying, which I liked.
Yeah.
But I think that the aspect of this, what Adam was saying in terms of like good storytelling, I think there's an aspect of being a technician in the storytelling.
Right.
Of going, okay, great. What is a good hook? What is the good opening of it? Great. How do you keep people interested every 30 seconds? If you're doing long form, every 30 seconds, every minute. If you're doing short form, every 5 seconds. Like, how do you keep people engaged? Then how do you wrap it up in a way that either is so satisfying that they go, holy crap, I need to share this or comment on it, or that they go, hold on, I got to watch that again. Wait, it's over? Yeah. Hold on. Let's watch this again. This was so good. And I think it doesn't, the more I do it and the more I talk about storytelling as a subject, because that is the big thing that comes up on these podcasts that I'm on, right, is it's not as much like, oh, I need to tell this story. And it is actually just the technician aspect, the technical aspects of, okay, great. What makes a great hook? And I think that's where I personally fight it a little bit. That I'm like, yeah, it becomes annoyingly becomes formulaic. Just follow the formula, and it loses the creativity. It loses well, I don't want to do that formula. I don't, and I think that's where I've struggled as a screenwriter. Same thing, because I'm like, oh, I just follow the hero's journey. You do this, then you do this, and then you do this. Boring. Like, but yes, the great stories that we love just follow the formula, and they just do it in a slightly unique way. Put it in this world. Put it with this nuanced character. And it's a weird mental thing that I have on the screenwriting side, the traditional filmmaking television side, and on the social side, which is start with this hook. Great.
Yep.
Every 3 seconds, make a cut. Great. Zoom in. Like I go.
The formulaic stuff drives me nuts. And I think that your desire to, yes. And maybe it's my like artistic part of my brain that's like, I have to fight against this because I don't like that it works right now, or it's not going to work forever because it can't. My thing, I see so many of those when I'm like scrolling Instagram or TikTok of like, just do this, use these sound effects. Use these hooks, use this. And it's like they're formulating, which I do think helps the non-creative or the non-creator kind of develop a strategy. My pushback on that is always, if you are relying solely on a formula that somebody else said, use these 5 sound effects, or use these transitions, or use this style of caption, that to me is the first thing that gets replicated and duplicated a million times, because that's what AI is getting trained on, right? Is like the average, the median. And so I do think it's important, like where we are and in the space, to kind of hone a style or a craft that is not the template, because we're in the first inning of AI editing, AI generations, like AI training even. So I feel like every time I see a reel like that, where it's like, just use these 5 sound effects, like that will be the easiest edit for an AI to do, because it's just a template.
I 100% agree. And it's interesting because I think I come from, like you, the traditional filmmaking, television, movie space. And I think it's like, hey, if we just had the quirky black guy, being the comedic relief, it'll be a hit show. And I think that's the social media equivalent.
And they have to be named Donald. Glover, like, Donald Faison, like the quirky black guy has to be Donald.
Exactly. Or that's the actor's name. It has to be that, It
has to be the actor's name. Yeah, you can name him whatever you want. You can cast a Donald.
Use the caption, use the sound effect. Compared to like, yeah. And I think I'm actually just having a realization as we're talking about this, and this is why I'm so excited about just creating the show with you, is my own changes, and it's getting over. It's like, great. Network television has a formula, or cable television. No, it's network, right? I always get the cable and network separated, but like,
the whatever subscriptions you have to pay for.
Sitcoms have a formula,
right?
If you want to make a sitcom, you have 4 commercial breaks and a cold open. That is what happens. You have to have that. You cannot not have that.
Right.
And it's interesting. You have if you're going to make entertaining YouTube content, it has a formula. You have your opening, you have your intro, you have your chapters. You then have this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. Oh no, did that happen? And I have to just look at, if I'm going to make long form entertaining YouTube content, it's the same thing as television. It's just, and that, because I've always fought that. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. Screw you. And I realized just now, I'm like, it's just a television show format. It's no different. The same way if like, I don't want commercial breaks. Well, you're not going to have a network show. You can go to HBO, but you're not going to get on ABC or Fox as a sitcom. If you want a sitcom, it has to follow this formula. But now this on the same side, if you want a show on HBO, if you want a show on Apple TV, those episodes have a formula. They sell also great. Don't make it 24 episodes. You got to make it 6 to 10 episodes. 6, 8. It's not 7, it's 10. It's not 13, it's 8, And there's formulas. They're not 82 minutes. They're 30 minutes or 60. And it's just going, YouTube, TikTok, whatever, all have that same, the overall, this is the agreed upon format to how we watch this content. And that's my own little realization if I'm, creating a show and creating entertaining YouTube content, which is what I would love to do, because we have the gear, we have it's like that. There's no gatekeepers now. We can create this, and you look at the empire Mr. Beast has built. There's nobody stopping him. He's just done it, and it's a very interesting, just nuance. Okay, great. That is what the acceptable form is. And if you're going to do something different, okay, know it's an uphill battle. And that's where, again, sticking a little bit to the niche. Okay, great. You can be a wider niche. Just know it's a uphill battle. Know it's going to just take longer to actually develop and actually build and grow that audience, and be okay with it.
Yeah.
You might be able to go further because it'll be a wider audience, but it'll just take longer. Sorry, these are just my realizations.
So, dude, that's a great kind of summary end cap on kind of that what we were talking about. I mean, I like it. I am the contrarian disruptor person in my entire life. So it's so hard. You tell me like, hey, fit this formula, you're going to succeed. I'll be like, I'm going to succeed without the formula. But there are certain things. And I think to just end cap on exactly what you were saying and kind of like, put a bow on it, is viewership is predictability. Whether it's HBO or whether it's ABC, different commercial breaks, different formats, different times, but you will gain an audience if you can stick to a niche, stick to a format, stick to a, some kind of predictable, I know what I'm getting. And I think that goes just to our, like, how you package things too, is just like knowing what you are, like
I love that.
Some framework.
How did you say it again? It's something predictability. It's the audience. You had the
go back and check the tape.
It was so good. It was, but that's all it is. You're so right. And I just,
dude, I dig it. Well, look at us forcing epiphanies.
I love it.
Show. Look,
that's all it is. It's us figuring our shit out live on camera.
And just having a damn good time doing it.
Exactly. And
there are two.
Do that.
Speaking of structures, there are two news stories that we do have to kind of get to, because I at least teased it in my packaging.
I know.
And I do want
to wrap this up.
We and we're gonna we can talk forever.
Oh my God.
We kind of talked about this last week, and I'm trying to figure out how we bridge all of these things together. But we were talking about my NAS setup, and that I've set up a giant hard drive array that's back there in my closet that is a network attached storage, which is basically like a Google Drive or Dropbox that's attached to my network that I own. So I bought all the hard drives, I put all the hard drives in it. And now anything like, I don't know if you've even gotten a look in it, but like this show goes in that NAS, and then I can just drop you a link, and then all those files stay there.
Yeah.
In the last 6 months, and I like, honestly, I don't know if you knew this, like I didn't realize how crazy memory prices have gotten. Like they have gotten insane. I saw this. I want to show this to you.
NVIDIA's just buying everybody up, I heard.
But okay, so in my head, that was GPUs. NVIDIA makes GPUs. That's what
But for all the AI, they're buying, it's the same manufacturers, and they're not buying the GPUs. They're buying the manufacturers to focus on building GPUs.
Well, and it's
my knowledge, I could be totally wrong. I haven't fully looked into this, but basically these manufacturers are being bought up, and so thus they're getting repurposed to all build towards this AI, new universe, and thus hard drive prices are going up. We should have just invested in hard drives a long time ago.
Dude,
when it was cheap.
Well, okay, so let me tell this story a little bit. This is kind of how it started for me. I don't know if you saw this. I actually saw it on my Instagram, didn't think a whole lot about it, and then when putting this story together, had to come back and try and find this. It cracked me up. But this is like the biggest flex of 2026 apparently, and I love it. But I was like, damn, it
just keeps going.
Oh, that's thousands of dollars now.
Yeah,
crazy. But that's the flex.
Yeah,
that's the flex of 2026 is this crazy shit, and it's gotten so expensive. So
what you talking about, bro? What you talking about, bro?
Yo, I got a handful, but I'm not as stacked as this guy in this Instagram. And a shout out, he's a Tampa Bay photographer. So
480 is that 480 gigs there too?
That's what it looks like. The C-Fast cards. Yeah, and then he's got these these red 18 terabytes, which I had to buy for my NAS system. Those are not cheap. But I saw this popped up. So if you follow Chris Brockhurst, this was like a weird story for him because it was very much like journalistic, and he broke down. So if you haven't, maybe we can put links down below of his video, but it's a great dive into why this is happening. And he really breaks it down. I don't want to totally just rip on his, but I watched this and I went, okay, this makes more sense. So basically one thing that he's explaining is there was actually two issues with this whole memory card thing. One is that 2 or 3 years ago, it was like 2022, 2023, there was a surplus of memory that was being created. So all of these
so cheap. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing.
And every week B&H would have a new sale on
card.
Yeah. And they got so cheap because they were overproduced without enough demand. So they had tons of supply, not enough demand. And what ended up happening is, so then all those companies said, we're going to cut back our production to equal out where our demand is for 2023, 2024. Well, then all these data centers have been buying enterprise level storage because they have to have fast storage for their model training. So they're buying the storage to store all of our data that they're training their AIs on. And because these data centers are, going up so fast, there are so many of them that we had now a shrunk down supply chain. And then 2025, everybody needed a data center. And so that's kind of where the squeeze happened. And some of these, this was I can't even remember who, NerdWallet maybe, but basically showing that what was $173 is now $649. So we're literally talking about 4 or 5x. And I priced it because I bought, these awesome SanDisk Extremes. This is what I run my business on for $150. And now even at Costco, they're $300. So I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize until I started digging into this story a little bit more. Yeah. And so there are tons of different articles kind of talking about, so this is CineD specifically, and just talking about how the enterprise, it's trickle down, right? Like it's the enterprise. I think it's twofold. The enterprise, all that supply being bought up. They even talk about how like there will be shortages until 2027 because all of 2026 supply is already purchased basically. So that's why everything's gone up like crazy. Now, because I was researching this and I am a contrarian, I had to look up like, okay, give me the good news on this story, right? Like, okay, we're all doomed. Everything's expensive and you better enjoy your 2022 hard drive because that's the only thing you're going to get. So the contrarian point or the good news of this story is that although these SSDs have 10, 15, 20, sometimes 200x on their price, depending on how much you need, hard disk drives, the spinning drives, not as much. They've only gone up like 2x. So the SSDs are now, I think the number I was reading was like
spinning disk 10x. Drive. Who wants that?
That is where the NAS comes in though. Because what I built is four 20 terabyte drives that go in my NAS. They're spinning disks. They RAID together, which means you get a faster read speed on your spinning drives. They go up to like 400 megs a second, which means you can edit. You can't edit like 8K red code, but you can edit a YouTube video off of it. And so if you build that out, and then the other thing I did was I took, and granted, I got to do this when it was cheaper, but I built out 2 SSDs that are built into it. And anything that's like important right now that I need to edit on, I send to that SSD partition of my drive. And then when I'm storing stuff, I don't need an SSD. I don't need 1,000 megs a second for storage. So when this episode's done, released, and out, it shifts over to the partition with the spinning drives. It's a little bit cheaper. So I do think the silver lining is that eventually supply is going to catch up with demand. We're all going to kind of hopefully even this weird chain out by 2027. But the NAS system, or that idea of like RAIDing together spinning drives, it's not ideal. It's not perfect. You're still going to need, these when you go out and like have to edit stuff quickly.
Yeah.
But I've always been an advocate of my NAS system since I built it last year. I freaking love it. We talked about this last episode. I hate subscriptions. So if I have to buy a subscription, I have a Dropbox subscription, a Google Drive subscription, and an Apple Cloud, because you always put shit on the Apple Cloud, right? Like I've gotten to cancel almost all. I still have my Apple Cloud because it links to my phone and it's fat. But I got rid of Dropbox. I got rid of Google because this NAS works. So I think that's the silver lining.
Well, I definitely need to look more into that. That could definitely be. And I think they're also, because of the increased demand. What is increased demand push is innovation. So I think that's been the big thing I've seen over the last couple of years is like, freaking 2 terabyte SD cards. I remember when 128 gigs was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Now they're like 2 terabytes as an SD card. And
which is wild.
Which is insane to think about how. And so I think because of all of the demand, it's going to push innovation. It's going to push even faster speeds, even faster and smaller, and et cetera. Like, so I think there's going to be a lot of upside. We're just going through a little bit of that downside on it, but I think it's going to be a very big up on the next side.
Now, because you brought this up, are you pro 2 terabyte SD drive or SD card, or are you against 2 terabyte SD card? Or CFast card, whatever.
It depends on the projects. I care more about the read-write speed than anything, because I used a GFX 100 RF, yeah, the 102 megapixel Fuji point and shoot, and I used my 128 gig in it, and there was lag on the read.
Yeah.
Read right on it, and I would
on
try
a medium format like that. Yeah,
but it was interesting just to go, oh, okay, now we're my Canon, no problem with it, unless I'm shooting, and
then you'll fill up that card pretty quick. You'll fill up the buffer
fast, but also then it's like, oh, hold on, let me show you back to you. Give me a second.
Yeah.
So it was just interesting. So I care more about that. Oh my God, the show will probably end up being an hour and a half. But I do, today's got to be today. We're going to keep figuring out this format, but
yeah. Well, we'll save more. I do want to show this really quick before we got off because I forgot to share this. This was one tweet that I pulled, which is just kind of explaining these SD cards. SSDs now cost 16 times more. Jeez. But this meme won Twitter for me today. Once you've tried to upgrade your PC, you'll never stop wanting to beat Sam Altman to death with your bare hands. Anthony Bourdain. That meme won the internet today, especially as I was looking at how freaking expensive these things are. So God bless everybody that's trying to update their things. And my friend,
build it into the client, into the client build.
That's somebody's got to pay for it.
Client solution. Hey, you want to do this project? You want to shoot 6 cameras? Just got to pay for the hard drive, bud.
Yep. All right, bro. Until the next one, I got a lot more to talk about, so I'll keep on all my notes, and we'll see you next week, bud. Hi, man. Bye.
Dude, yes, I'll call you after.